Also, Dan Mortensen does a thing called Tea Time Topics every Saturday. And if you want to come in and just share topics, it's really kind of it's a very cool thing. It's kind of a casual opportunity to get together and talk about cool and different audio things, which is kind of what we like to do. So that's why we're here, right? Um, and also, we'll be talking about an AVAR conference that's going on out at DigiPen, and it's a really cool thing, audio, augmented reality, um, virtual reality, it's all in world with your goggles on. So uh, I think that's cool. I think it actually maybe happened last week because I think I was out of town, which is why I couldn't do it. Um, so it looks like there's a lot going on in the chat window. Looking through there.
Bill, there's people from all over the world here. I'm looking at Buenos Aires, Doha, Austin, UK, everywhere, man. Look at that.
That is really cool. So Argentina, I saw that. Yeah, you
There
look
was
at the list.
there was 27 U.S. states and 32 countries, other countries, represented on the ticket list.
Wow.
Hey, Bill, can you hear me?
Yes.
Sylvia. Hi.
Hey, Sylvia.
Can you see my video right now?
Peter Strobin.
We should share that.
Yes, let's do it.
And can you see it?
It's going to be there in a sec, I'm sure. Sylvia is awesome.
Ah, thanks.
No, thank you.
We're still setting this thing up. So please appreciate your patience there.
It's like every
212
event,
people so far.
And do you see me?
Yes.
We see.
Oh, good. And do you hear me?
Yes.
Obviously. All right. Well, then I'll just turn my mic off, and when you're ready, just let her rip.
All right. Thanks, Sylvia. So just seeing a little bit of Sylvia there, with her mics around her and everything. I mean, you get an idea of, what she has going on. It's really incredible. She has 2,000 plus microphones in her collection, and they're literally all gems. It's really, really mind-boggling, just like the title of the event. It's amazing that somebody has ended up with all these microphones that was started as a collection in Milwaukee, but she's also been over to Europe and been gathering things of her own. She has a lot of her own collection too, and the book that she did in a couple years ago was about recording and stuff, and the same publisher has contracted her to put together a book on classic microphones, which is kind of where all this came from. I mean, she'd probably tell you all this stuff, but I'm involved. I mean, right now with the pandemic and all that, that publisher, I don't know where they're at. They're hiding their head in the sand and not doing anything, but it'll happen, and it'll be awesome. I've seen parts of it, and it will just be an incredible resource and fantastic eye candy. Really, it's amazing. So, we're really looking forward to a great evening. Welcome, Greg Dixon, our section president, is going to do the official welcome. Take that over. I'm going to back out here pretty soon, but we wanted to just have somebody just yakking at you to let you know that we care enough to welcome you in. We really appreciate it that you're all here, and we've been looking forward to a really fantastic evening of audio fun and games. So, Greg, are you?
All right.
All right. Thanks.
All right. Are we ready?
I think Greg's going to give you the official introduction or official welcome. So you got a couple minutes here, and I'm going to
got about 30 seconds.
30 seconds. Okay.
I like to start right on time. So just give me a little bit here, and I'll take it away here in about 20 seconds.
It's like TV, man. Okay, everybody quiet in the house.
Okay, I'm a few seconds ahead. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, everyone from all over the world today. This is really incredible. We have a stellar meeting planned for you today. So welcome to the Pacific Northwest section of the AES, our August meeting. We're so happy that you could join us. Tonight, our meeting is called Sylvia Massy's Mind-Blowing Microphone Museum, the incredible evolution of the microphone. And I'm really, really stoked about this because if you guys know me, you know that I love microphones. I'm absolutely obsessed with them. So I'm really excited. I did want to talk about a few just technical details that you probably saw on the slide, but I did want to sort them out in this little intro. First off, you may have noticed that your mics have been muted when you entered the meeting, and that is intentional. At the end of the meeting, we're going to have this cool new thing that we're going to try for the first time. We're going to have some breakout rooms tonight that follow the presentation. And what's going to happen there, people are going to get sorted into breakout rooms randomly. And at that time, you'll be able to socialize with people that are here at the meeting and get to know one another. And at that time, you'll be able to share your audio. At this time, though, we do ask that you please mute your video cameras. This is related to sort of the format that we want to present to you all tonight. It's important to us to get this right. So we ask, again, that you please mute your video camera for the duration of Sylvia's presentation. I do also want to point out that Bill Gibson, who's been helping us out with the introduction earlier, Bill is going to be our moderator tonight. So thank you so much, Bill. Bill has done this in the past and he does a really great job, and also his knowledge of Sylvia's work and friendship with Sylvia will make him an excellent moderator tonight. So to that end, please use the Zoom chat to ask questions. And then our moderator, Bill Gibson, will relay those questions to Sylvia and ask her. And so we'll have a really clear line of communication to Sylvia. I'd like to thank the committee of the Pacific Northwest AES section. All the committee members are doing so much to help with these meetings, and I really, really appreciate them. So I'm sure I'll thank them again later, but thanks to all of them. I'd also like to extend a thank you to Rick Chin and Katie Gray for sponsoring the Zoom meeting tonight. We needed to expand our Zoom so that we could have more people here. So thank you to them. At this point in time, I'd like to briefly talk about our next meeting that's going to be happening next month. It's going to be on September 23rd, and it's going to be at 6 p.m., same time, 6 p.m. Pacific time on the 23rd of next month. And it's going to be all about the recent conference that just took place online, and it is the Audio for Virtual and Augmented Reality Conference, the second one that has happened. And I'm going to turn the time over to Lawrence to talk about that because he was one of the co-hosts.
Thanks, Greg. I don't want to take any time away because I really want to hear Sylvia rather than hearing me blab. So come Wednesday, September 23, same format, same place. I doubt I'll have all 500 of you here, or all 275 or 327 of you here for my thing. We're going to take a peek into AltSpace VR and the AVAR conference on audio for virtual and augmented reality, and it's going to be a blast. So watch the website and we'll give you more information, the AES PNW website. That's all I got, Greg.
Awesome. I may even have a little cameo in that meeting. I'm going to be talking a little bit, if Lawrence will let me, I'm going to be talking about some of my experiences of recording, documenting and recording things inside of virtual reality. So it was really, I did recording and streaming for the conference, and that was really an eye-opening thing. So maybe they'll let me talk about that as well. At this time, I'd like to turn the time over to Bill for Sylvia's introduction. So thank you, everyone.
In addition to owning the largest microphone collection in the world, Sylvia Massy maintains the world's largest library of original microphone documentation and supporting materials. She keeps over 1,000 unique vintage microphone models in her studio. And that's only a portion of her entire collection, which contains several historically significant and unusual microphones that simply don't exist anywhere else. Her studio in Ashland, Oregon, appropriately called the museum, is packed full of amazing gear, gadgets, and gizmos. She has all of the expected professional audio tools designed to capture accurate audio, surrounded by an incredible amount of unconventional devices that she's discovered, uncovered, reconditioned, or invented. Devices crafted to capture magic. She's the unpredictable producer and engineer renowned for her work with Tool, System of a Down, Johnny Cash, and Prince. She's received over 25 gold and platinum records, including awards for her work with the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Seven Dust, and Tom Petty. She's also an accomplished fine artist, a published columnist, in-demand educator, and relentless entrepreneur. Sylvia's recent book, Recording Unhinged, dares you to abandon safe record making, to get out from behind the windshield, stick your head out the sunroof, and put the pedal to the metal. She explores techniques that fall outside the norm and yield emotionally powerful, incredibly personal, gut-wrenching, and even scary recordings. Ladies and gentlemen, Sylvia Massy. All right, Sylvia.
Hey there. I see a lot of friends out there, and I'm so glad to be here. My name is Sylvia Massy, and I love microphones. I love microphones so much that I bought a microphone museum. You can see I have a gear problem. Anyway, I have collected together a group of mics from the museum to show you tonight, but I want to give you a little backstory on how this all happened. My partner, Chris Johnson, and I wrote a book called Recording Unhinged, and you might know about it anyway. Bill helped out with that book. Thank you, Bill. And the publisher liked what we did. It was a success, so he asked us to do another book on vintage microphones. And okay, seems like a natural fit. So we went under contract to write this book. And right away, we went to visit some friends who had good mic collections and stories. And one of these friends, Dan Alexander, who you might know, he pretty much said, it can't be done. This book, it can't be written because there's just too many mics in the world to really document it. And, you know, he might actually be right, but we're going to try anyway. And we set about going around the world to meet collectors and look at their collections and document what they had and collector stories. And during this time when I was out meeting people, I went to Milwaukee and went to a fellow named Bob Paquette's museum. And Bob Paquette is this gentle soul who had his own private museum. Nobody even knew about it, barely, in an upstairs room where his office was in his commercial building. It was his own private little stash he'd been collecting for 60, 70 years. And it was unbelievable. I'd never seen most of these mics. And I thought I knew something about mics. You know, I have a good collection of my own, vintage also. But I realized that I really needed to come back and visit Bob again and take photographs. But he passed away before I was able to do that. Long story short, Chris and I wound up buying his collection. For one reason, we really wanted to preserve this collection because it's so historic. And now I get to share some of these real historic mics with you and also give you a background on the history of the microphone and where it started and where it's going. And so we can start, just a little reminder, we'll be doing different categories of microphones. And as we show some mics and finish a category, we'll take some questions and then we'll take a little break and I'll set up for the next category. We've got categories like carbon mics and condenser mics and ribbons and such. So we'll kind of start a flow and get going on this. Just to let you know where I'm at, I'm in Ashland, Oregon in my private studio. It's tentatively called the museum studio. We're still under construction here, but all my favorite things are around me. And I've got a Rupert Neve console, and a WEM console, and a Loop Trotter console. And I'm going to be using some of the mic pre's in the Loop Trotter. The Loop Trotter is basically a 500 series modular console. And I've got some Moog EQ and Moog mic preamplifiers, some Black Lion audio preamps, the Loop Trotter preamps, and Warm Audio. And I've got the mics, some of the mics set up so that we can actually listen to them during our time tonight. So let's just get started, all right? Let's go all the way back to the beginning at 1876. And we're gonna look at what is really the first microphone. And it's this liquid transmitter that was built by Alexander Graham Bell. Can we take a look at this mic on the table? We have a close-up camera somewhere. There it is. All right, so this mic, it's not on, is it? Okay, all right, we're going live here. It's nothing like live Zoom, right? Anyway, this mic is a liquid transmitter, and the way it worked is you would speak into this cone on the top. It would vibrate a parchment diaphragm, which would vibrate a small wire dangling in a small cup of acid, and then the fluctuations of that current going through that acid then would give you the audio signal. So, and it apparently worked. And Watson was in the other room when Alexander Graham Bell said, "Come here, Watson." You know, I think he was probably standing up and looking into it like this. But this is not the original. This is a reproduction, probably made in the turn of the century, like 1900, something around there. But pretty nice to have one of those in the collection. And now I'll pull out some other ones because the next technology was carbon. And this blew my mind. I couldn't believe it when I first learned about this. But this particular mic was made by David Edward Hughes, and it's a carbon pencil. This is a pressed carbon pencil in this little box here, and it would be set upright and closed like this. And then you would speak into this, and the vibrations of this carbon pencil would give you your signal. And it was charged with a like a 6-volt battery at the time. That was the standard way of doing things. But I've actually used this in a session recently in Los Angeles. I had a singer actually sing into it, and it works. It's amazing. So that's the original idea for carbon microphones, and that was right away. It was improved upon by several people. And
Hey, Sylvia.
Yes.
We do have, I think, a couple people on this call who are blind, who would like.
Is that right?
Yeah, and that's awesome. But they'd like you to, just give a quick description of what you're showing, like, the little brown wood box kind of thing.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I'll be much more descriptive then, and then we'll be able to listen to some of these too. So anyway, that little brown wooden box has basically a carbon stick in it. And you yell at the stick, and it actually gives you a signal, an audio signal, which is quite amazing. So the improvements on carbon microphones happened quickly, and I have another of these mics now. This is it's on a pedestal, on a wooden pedestal, and it's another box and this is the type of box that you would see on wooden wall telephones in the late 1800s. It's a Blake transmitter, and this used a different type of carbon technology. This was a granulated carbon, and I actually have some of that granulated carbon here in a box, and let me just show you. There it is. It's in a little jar. These little bottles of carbon were available so that if you needed to build your own microphone, you could do it. And so carbon, the loose carbon was packed in a tiny little button, and then it became a very popular style of microphone through the teens and the 20s. And this is when microphone building really became more important. And this is what I have here now is a double button carbon microphone that was made by Western Electric. It's a 323, I believe it is. And it was used in radio station WOR. And what it is a kind of a metal puck with a diaphragm and a small carbon button suspended, touching that diaphragm. And the vibration of the diaphragm excites the carbon particles in that button, and then it changes the current that's being sent through it. So it does need a current. It usually is like a 6 volt to 12 volt current that's put through these microphones. But these pucks, they're kind of metal pucks, and they're suspended in a ring. And this became a real popular fixture for a lot of different movie actresses. Like here's a photo of Gloria Swanson from the 20s, and she's just smoky, sultry in front of a double microphone, a double carbon button microphone. And so this was really great technology, and that became the norm for the United States, is this kind of double button microphone. And that then became the popular candlestick microphone. And here's an example of that candlestick microphone. This is actually a microphone. Oftentimes you'll see this shape as a tabletop telephone in the teens and 20s, or the late 1800s through the 20s. But this, in fact, was a microphone. There was no receiver that you would listen to on this. It was strictly one way. And you can see the call letters for the early radio station. It was probably an amateur radio station. 9BY is the number on the top of that microphone. It's a beautiful old brass mic, also made by Western Electric. And there was other technology happening.
Hey, Sylvia?
Yes.
Sylvia, we have one more question here about the puck microphones.
Yes.
Asking if they're inherently bidirectional or if they are omnidirectional, or what the pull.
I call them non-directional because they're not particularly omnidirectional, but they're not focused in any one direction. So I'd call it a non-directional.
Great.
In Europe at this time, the early microphones looked something like this, and this is an unusual mic by Siemens and Halsky. And this mic was typically called the butter stamp. And this is a very early carbon, typically lived at the post office in Germany. And you could transmit a voice message over telegraph lines using this. And it looks like a butter stamp, whatever a butter stamp would look like. I'm not even sure. It has a leather cover over the top of it. It's made of wood with a leather bound handle. It's quite unusual looking and quite beautiful, but this is ancient technology. I think this is probably around 1878. So this is really early, soon after the carbon microphones came into being. And the Germans also continued to improve on the carbon or coal microphones. Some people in Europe will call it a coal microphone because carbon is coal generally. And this microphone you can see is a Reisz microphone, type 104. This is it's also a carbon powder microphone or coal microphone, and it has a large area that is filled with a very thin layer of this coal that excites when you're putting a charge and through it, and then vibrating the diaphragm. So, but the interesting thing about this particular mic, and it's a really heavy mic, it's made of marble, so it has a really cool feeling to it, and it's it was very popular with you know, the big important people of the day. You'll see photos of, here's Stalin talking into a pair of these things. But not too many people know that this particular design, it says the brand is Reisz. It was at the Reisz laboratories, but in fact, a very young George Neumann developed this while Reisz was on vacation, apparently. And so this is you could consider this the first Neumann mic right here. It's a coal mic from Germany. Right away, these became very popular and they were improved upon. This Reisz mic, also known as a coal mic, was built by the Marconi laboratory in London. And Marconi used the Reisz design and then refined it. So we have a marble body, but it's octagonal shape. And it's a smaller area, but it seems to have, you know, it's just designed beautifully. When I went to do more research at EMI's archives in London, in Hayes, I saw one of these mics that had been built for the Queen Mother for her radio addresses. And it was, oh, so elaborate with gold filigree and amazing metal work on it. So the royals would use these mics too. So, so what does it sound like? Well, if you've ever used a regular old telephone, then you know what these mics sound like. They're not very high fidelity. You're going to have limited fidelity with them, but they are really rugged. And if you know anything about the way I like to record, I usually will find an old telephone and take it apart and get that carbon diaphragm out of here, the carbon button out of the handset, and I'll wire it up so that I can use it as a microphone. And you can do this too. If you find an old telephone in the thrift store, you can wire it up so that you can use it on your session. And I think I have that already wired up and ready to listen to. So let me just put my headphones on here and turn off my lav and turn on, where is it? This one, okay. Hello. Hey there, this is what a carbon microphone sounds like. It works pretty good, right? This is made out of an old telephone handset. All right.
Hey, Sylvia.
Were you able to hear that?
Yeah, that was great.
Okay.
So we have a couple people who are on the chat who, Michael Peterson, who's the historian for sure.
Oh, I know, Michael. Hi, Michael.
Yeah. And Gary Elko, who's Dr. Gary Elko, designer. And they're throwing some nice comments in here. If we stop for all those guys, we would, Sylvia's tightening her program up so we can get through it all. But if you're in the place here, check out what's going on in the chat because they're doing some nice comments on the side.
Oh my God. Okay. Well, I'm getting checked. I'm getting fact checked, I'm sure, by the
No, nobody's called out anything wrong. They're just kind of like
Okay.
adding this or that, or you're good. It's all perfect.
Oh, good. All right. Well, I'm so glad I see a lot of people that I actually know. And Michael, thank you very much. Michael is my hero because he just sent the museum a pair of SM57s that were used in the White House. And so they're presidential mics, and there were, did we lose it? Did we lose it?
We still hear you.
Oh, you do? But do we have a camera?
Well, no, unless it's all just pointing
Oh,
really
whoops.
gray.
Uh-oh, we have, we're putting it back. Sorry about that. But yeah, Michael sent us a pair of SM57s from the White House that have been used for, from the Clinton, Bush, and Obama administrations. And we're just thrilled. It's fantastic. So I want to say thank you very much, Michael. And I'm glad to see everyone participating in this thing tonight. And so sorry about the technical difficulties. We're back online. Fantastic. Well, listen, are there any more questions that we can talk about now? And then if not, then we'll just set up the next group of microphones.
The only point that somebody asked, and I don't really know the answer to, this is being recorded, but somebody else on the committee, is it available to everybody who's not a member also? Rick, Gary, Steve, Greg?
Well, this is Gary. Usually after we edit them, we can put them on YouTube if we can.
Oh, great. And will the link to that be on the Pacific Northwest site?
Yep.
All right. There you go.
Roberto, you're cute. I'm looking at some of the comments. This is great. All right, well, we'll take a short break, and I think someone's going to talk about connectors, which are really important if you're going to collect some vintage mics. And then we'll be back to talk about condensers in just a moment, so stick around. All right.
In the beginning, there were no standard microphone connectors. You used whatever was around that worked. People adopted what was practical that worked for others. Slowly, things standardized. Physical environment. Think about it. The connector used needed to be robust, needed to be reliable, and you needed to be able to buy it. The first attempt was the Amphenol 75 series, sometimes known as a button connector. Still found on high impedance microphones today. They're fiddly to attach, not very robust. The locking ring uses mic stand thread. That's sometimes useful for non-microphone things. Another first attempt was the Amphenol 91 series, an awful connector if there ever was one. It was used on Shure and Electro-Voice mics. They're pretty fiddly to attach. The locking ring is fragile. Sometimes it gets bent out of shape. The Switchcraft L3MN adapter will save your bacon. Finally, there's the Hubble twist lock. It's usually an AC line connector, commonly found on stage lighting. They're robust, very high amperage contacts. The high wiping force resists dirt.
All right, so we're waiting for Sylvia to come back on, and I think she'll probably be back in a second. It's really great to see. There's somebody else was very, very envious of your SM57s from the White House, Sylvia. So, and it was Annie Jameson on behalf of the National Science and Media Museum in the UK.
Oh, yeah,
She's
right.
coveting your 57s.
Ha, 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 we got it.
All right.
Okay, I think we're about ready for the next group of mics that we have arranged to show you from the museum. Are you ready?
Yep.
Okay, these are the condensers. Now condensers, the first condenser was invented by E.C. Wente at Westinghouse. And that was in 1919, 1920. Let me see. I got a little cheat sheet up here. Yeah, 1920. And this is what it looked like. And basically, a condenser microphone has a diaphragm, actually two plates that are charged, and the diaphragm acts as one of the two plates. And then the variance between the two plates is what gives you the signal. So this particular capsule here was a Western Electric version, the 394W, and very common in the early condensers in the United States. So I thought, you know, before I met Bob Paquette, I thought that the first condenser was this big old bad boy, which is this is a Neumann. It's a CMV3. It has a Telefunken badge. Telefunken was a company that sold a lot of different products from different makers, but Neumann would supply these mics to Telefunken, and then Telefunken would put their badge on it. But this, for me, was the first condenser mic, high-end condenser tube mic from Germany. But in fact, George Neumann was not the first. He was beat by only a couple of years by E.C. Wente and the Western Electric crew. The Western Electric 394W was used in this beautiful mic here, which is a prize from the Paquette Museum. And because the capsule needed a charge, you had to have a power supply close to the capsule. So this is one of the first that was a combination capsule and power supply. And the power supply is in this wooden box that the hoop on top got that capsule suspended in it. And I'm going to open up the wooden box, and you can take a look inside, and you can see it's full of electronics and a beautiful round tennis ball tube. So this is a very, very early Western Electric condenser mic combination. It has everything. So from here on out, the idea was for condensers to be combined with their power supplies. And I'll move this out of the way, and I'll show you what happened next. So the next generation of this style, this is also Western Electric. This is a 7A, and typically nicknamed the tombstone or the mantle clock type of mic. And let me get it in the view there. It's kind of a black tombstone with a circle on top that has that 394 capsule inside, and the body of it has that amplifier in it, or the power supply inside it, and it's a valve power supply. But these were really famous. You could see these in old photos of Winston Churchill. Oh, there he is right now, speaking into one of these. And there's one of those Marconis right next to him, the Marconi-Reisz marble coal microphone, also in the same photograph. But oh yeah, there it is, the circle. Yeah, so anyway, these were very popular with radio stations, but the technology was moving so quickly during this era that the body styles were rapidly changing. And the next style of body, you know, grab this right here. I have to move very slowly so I don't knock anything over and hurt anything. All right, hang on. Here we go. This is better. All right. So the next style of condenser microphone from Western Electric was this type of mic, and this is the 47A, which is a canister that would typically be hung upside down, and I'll show you what it looks like when it was hung correctly, so that the capsule is on the bottom, and the heat from the power supply would rise and not affect the capsule. So it's full of tubes, and it's quite an amazing thing. This also was a very popular design for amateurs in the 20s in particular. because radio was new in the 20s and everyone was involved, kind of like the internet is today. Everyone wanted to be a part of it or make an app or, you know, have their own website or whatever. So everyone wanted their own amateur radio station and they would build their equipment. So you'll find so many varieties of these types of mics, and I'll show you a few others later as we continue. But I wanted to try this one out because I have the power supply, the external power supply for it here actually. And I'm going to plug this in and see if it'll work for us. Oh, how about that? This mic is from what, how old is this thing? This is 1928. And we'll see if we can get it to work. I'm connecting this weird, now we're talking about connectors. Look at this weird connector. All right, somebody tell me what this is and tell me where I can get some. All right, because I have a very short cable getting into this power supply. All right, so now connected. And now I'm going to flip on the power, and I already did heat this one up, so I know it'll be okay. I have tested it. It's a bit noisy though. I'm putting on my headphones and I'm going to turn off my lav. There you are. Hello. Ooh, it's a bit noisy, but there it is, the 47A. You can hear it. And yeah, these were popular for recording music too. But these condenser mics in the 20s and 30s were very unreliable, as you can hear right now. These kind of things were difficult to handle. And so it became much easier just to use a carbon mic that didn't fuss like this. But when it was working, it's a much better quality sound. I'll turn this one off now. All right. Let me just shut this baby down. And let's talk about what happened after this. All right. I'm going to just let that cool down over here. I'm going to get it out of the way, actually. I'm going to unplug it and move it out of the way. Here we go. We're all shut down. Put you over here. All right. All right, no accidents. We'll put that over here. All right, so the next generation of condenser after that for Western Electric is this beautiful thing. So they went from that big kind of pipe looking condenser to a really streamlined chrome bottle. It's not as big as the bulky 47A, but it's also kind of big still to today's standards. And it used a much smaller capsule. And you'll see here, this is the 640 AA capsule that became very popular from here on out. And the first ones were in about the late 30s, I think, and through the 40s is when this was introduced. And it comes with a little cap that you put on there. But one of the most interesting things about this mic is when you open it up, you can take a look at how the tubes were changing through the new technologies. And this particular mic then, and I'll hold this up so you can see it, the tube became very flat and fit into the housing much differently than the previous mics. For instance, I'll show you a little bit older mic here. This one also a condenser, but an older condenser, and you can see it was full of these big tubes. But then all of a sudden the technology allowed for these much smaller tubes to be used. Great. I'm going to put that back here. But yeah, the this big old NBC RCA pipe thing there's some beautiful pictures of Amelia Earhart using this type of microphone. It's also a condenser, an early RCA condenser. Let me put that back over here. So after this big bottle here that used the 382A tube, that flat tube, things quickly got more and more refined, and the bodies of these mics got smaller and smaller real quick. So here's one of the bodies, still using the same 640 AA capsule, but much more streamlined, right? Not a heavy bottle. And then the next generation, only a few years after that, was much smaller, and then even smaller after that, so that you can see now this last mic is really close to the size of the mics that we're familiar with today. This is also using that same 640 AA capsule, and I'll just take the cap off there. These capsules were interchangeable too, that you could screw that off and replace it with something else. And the technology for these condensers, when they were still tube mics, really got refined right around the time. This is an American-made Altec 165 lipstick mic, and these are legendary. I am so excited to have some in this collection because they sound amazing. This is the American version of the KM 53, 54 interchangeable capsules. But take a look at the tube now. And this is how technology really became available for microphones to be much smaller. And you can see this particular, can you see that? That small tube in there. And that one is the 5840 tube, RCA tube. So I just love these microphones. And the great thing is that these are great production mics. A little later in the program, I'll be sharing with you some other ideas of production mics that are kind of sleepers that you might not know about, that if you see them, you might want to buy them because you'll get them for a good price, and they are excellent mics that not many people know about. But stay tuned for that later. Actually, I think that's it for our discussion about condenser mics. If there are any questions, throw them at me.
There are a few questions.
Okay.
Ken G in New York City, does anybody still manufacture the carbon buttons for the carbon microphones?
You know, there is a company called Placid Audio that actually is making microphones. They're carbon microphones. Now, I don't know if he's making the buttons themselves, but he is marketing a whole line of different carbon microphones that have unique and wonderful flavors, you know, as far as mics go. I have a couple in my collection.
That's great.
Yeah.
Sarah Sotelo, have you used any of these mics in recording sessions yet?
Ooh, now, oh yeah. This particular old, you know, the pencil, the carbon pencil I have used with vocals, which is the most unusual sounding mic I've ever used. But, you know, I've never used a wooden mic before, but, and there's some more later on that I'll show you that are, that I have used from the museum in recording sessions, but I'll save that until later. I'll share that with you, sure.
And one other person wanted a reminder of what the shiny microphone was with the flat tube.
This big guy, this is in, you know, the amplifier is an RA 1095. The capsule is 640 AA. It's all Western Electric. So I suppose you could call it a 1095 or you could call it a 640 AA. Probably both things are okay.
Great.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of great comments here. I mean, people are loving this.
Oh, I hope so. You know, it's a passion of mine, and I am so excited to share this with everyone. I mean, there's so many mics that I can only show you a fraction tonight. So I think I'll be probably talking about mics the rest of my life like this. But
Yeah.
we're getting started tonight. This is my first outing sharing the collection. So thanks for
Fabulous.
coming. And
Yeah.
we'll take a short break, and then we'll come back and be ready for the next round of mics, which are the dynamics. So stay tuned.
Okay, thanks, Sylvia. You know, there's keep an eye on the chat, everybody. It's there's some good information in there. There's some good resources. People are putting links to different things, and one resource, since Sylvia's book isn't done yet and she doesn't have all these pictures up. One really nice resource that I found in researching a few of my books is Coutant, Stanley Coutant. It's COUTANT.org. And Stan, I've talked to him a few times, man. He's a great guy. He's got lots of pictures, lots of documentation. And, you know, so if you see something and you want to go check it out a little bit more and look at some of the documentation, maybe there's a good chance that Stan would have it up there. So anyway.
In the beginning, Canon Electric made a broad range of military and industrial connectors. Sooner or later, someone was bound to figure out that you could use them for audio. The O series, an oval-shaped connector released sometime before 1955. Note that all of the Canon connectors use the same dash numbers in their part number. The dash 11 is always the cable female, the dash 12 is the cable male, and so on. The P series connectors are about an inch in diameter. They've got large contacts. They're still in use today, usually for loudspeakers. The UA series was an answer to a request for a smaller connector. Several EV mics used them, including the 655C and the 666. Pin 1 is not ground. Ground has its own terminal. Both CBS and NBC tried to standardize on these connectors.
All right. Thanks to Rick for putting those together. It's, you know, it's nice to see some of the connectors for some of these microphones, you know, and with Sylvia showing some of the things and, you know, letting us see some of the obstacles that she might run up against with those. And she's looking for connectors. But it's great. So Sylvia, you're back.
Yes, we're back. All right, let's talk about dynamic mics. Now, surprisingly, dynamics have been around since the early 20s. There was a fellow named Captain Round who developed this big mic here that I have on the table now. Take a close look at this. It's so unusual. This is a Round Sykes. This was made in the Marconi lab in London. And it's the first dynamic microphone. It doesn't, it creates its own charge, a very small charge, but this was really a great mic for field recording, which made it unusual. So there were, kings would do addresses out in the, at games and such. Here's King George V using his magnetophone with a big cover on it, windscreen, that was a windscreen. But, and here's when I was at the EMI archives, this was the magnetophone that was King George V's also, with a silver filigree windscreen cover on it, which is just that, look at that thing. Can't even believe it. Anyway, it wasn't until I met Bob Paquette and we in fact started packing up the museum that Chris found this funny old mic underneath a shelf, and it was kind of tucked back in the corner. I don't think the appraisers even saw it. But oh my God, this is a round Sykes, a Marconi round Sykes. That's the same mic that they used for the King of England. So I'm super excited about it. It's super heavy. And this is the first dynamic. Things changed quite quickly after that, and I'm going to move this mic out of the way. It's very heavy, and I must do it delicately. All right. That's a big old magnet on that thing. So Western Electric, again, at the forefront, created their first commercially available microphone, dynamic mic, which became extremely popular. And this is the 618A. And you'll see these mics in all kinds of historic photos, especially presidents using them. I'm just undoing this so you can see. What in the world? Does that look like, is that a ribbon? No. No, this is a 618. This is a dynamic. It's got to be a dynamic. I'm going to check the number on this, but I am sure that this is the 618. It just looks a little unusual there, doesn't it? All right. Let me look at that. Induction microphone. But, oh, this is an RCA. Oh, I've got the wrong one. Ah, here it is. This is the 618. It fooled me. All right, that was a ribbon. Look at that. But this is a dynamic mic. And here we go. Here's one of those Canon connectors that is so difficult to find. But this is such a popular mic. It was used by all the presidents of at the time, which is Roosevelt. You can see him with several of these during his addresses. He would do the fireside chats using this type of mic. And it was the design, this kind of big puck, industrial looking design, was copied by so many other makers. RCA did their own version of it. However, that looks like it might be a ribbon and not a dynamic. But in the UK, the Vitavox Admiralty was their version of the 618. And what else do we have? And then the 618 actually went to other countries and was manufactured with other branding. This is one that showed up in Japan. It's definitely a 618 though. It's the same darn mic. So anyway, very popular design, but very utilitarian design. Now, Western Electric started to get very creative with their designs, the dynamic mics, and they started having a lot of fun with them. This is a mic design that is one of my favorites because it's called the Ball and Biscuit. And Nick Linné was the first person to turn me on to this mic. It's called a Western Electric 630, but in fact, it was also manufactured under so many other names. There's a French company that was making the same exact mic. There was STC, which is the British company that made the same exact mic, the 630. Standard Telegraph and Cable, I think STC, that's the UK company that made so many wonderful mics. Anyway, they had a version of this also. And they actually sound darn good. And I'm gonna just plug this one in and see if we can make it work. All right, hang on a sec. Let's see, which one am I gonna use here? Here, hang on.
Sylvia, while you get hooked up there,
Yeah.
somebody was asking the name of Bob's book, and it's The History and Evolution of the Microphone.
Yeah, Bob's book, yeah.
And there are links in the chat to some information about that. So I just want to make sure everybody that was wondering about that knew. And there's a lot of stuff. And one other thing for our committee Can we save this chat? Is the chat something we can save? I don't know about that. I mean, we could probably take screenshots of it, but can we
No,
save the
yeah,
chat?
we've got a transcript of the chat.
Okay, excellent. And can we post that then? Is it like in a Word document or something?
It's text. Yeah,
Okay.
we could probably post it. I don't know if we have any privacy concerns or not. We'll have to think about that.
Okay, awesome. There's some really good information in there, so it's fun to see. I'm trying to keep track. I mean, I might be missing a lot because there's a lot of activity. But all right, Sylvia, we're back with you.
Yes, and now I'm talking into the 630, the Western Electric 630, which is a darn good sounding mic. And I actually have used this one as a room mic on sessions at East West. It was late last year. No, it was early this year, actually. Yeah, it was January before COVID hit. Yeah, this one, you can actually find these available. They're a couple $100, maybe $300, but they're nice to have around. And this is a very, very early dynamic mic. And this particular model is from around 1935, amazingly enough. Okay, let me mute this and get back to my lav. All right. And there's a few more dynamics here I wanted to share with you. At the same time that Western Electric was dominating the market in the United States and in other parts of the world, in Germany, the dynamics were also really taking hold, and Eugene Bayer was the first to put out this microphone, which is the M19, the M19B, and this was very popular for radio and recording. And then, of course, the classic, and let me just move everything out of the way so we can take a good look at this guy. All right. Here we go. Here we go. Okay, now everybody's got to know this one, right? This is the classic Shure 55. This is the Elvis mic. And there's so many classic photos. There's Billie Holiday singing in a 55, through a 55. And Elvis is known, you know, we typically think of this as the Elvis mic. But it's a dynamic, it's an early dynamic. And it was first released in 1939. And this is a pretty nice specimen in the museum. I'm pretty proud of it. He looks like a gladiator or something with the headdress. Oh well, okay. And then most recently, or more recently, the dynamics have become very utilitarian. This is an Electro Voice, American-made Electro Voice mic. The 630, this is extremely common, but it's got a nice chrome body, and it's and you can find these relatively inexpensively, and it's a darn good mic. Now we all know where dynamics went from here. Well, I hope that some people know where dynamics went from here. And I have a special mic I have to just pull out. This is maybe my favorite mic, my favorite recording mic of all time. And that would be an SM57. Now you can't go wrong with the SM57, right? You better have at least, 10 of them in your collection because they're good for everything. This particular 57 is very, very special because this is the one that David Bowie sang in. I was working at Larrabee Sound, and I was an assistant. And in the room next door that where I was working, they needed a 57 so Bowie could sing all his vocals for the Tin Machine albums. And he only used a 57, and for some reason, Larrabee had no 57s. And of course, I had 57. I says, here, use mine. So this is the actual one. It has Bowie DNA on it. Anyway, that's what I got for dynamics. Are there any questions?
Hey, Sylvia. Yeah, somebody, let me see. Annie Jameson posted an article about the meat safe mic. So I just wanted to make sure everybody knew that. And Michael Peterson says there's a PDF about the history of the 55. And all you have to do is search FAQ. I can't remember what it was, but it's in the chat there. Search Shure FAQ Unidyne timeline. So, but other than that, people are just making comments that say, man, this is so cool. I can't believe it.
Oh, good. Oh, good. Well, we got some more. The next mics we'll be looking at will be ribbons. And there's some exceptionally special and historic ribbons in this collection. So you want to stay tuned for that. We'll take a few minutes and we'll come back soon.
All right. Thanks, Sylvia.
Ay, ay, ay.
Finally, someone spotted the Canon X series. They were small and robust, fairly easy to put on. Big problem, they're not locking. The XL series was the answer to the X series. It has a latch lock mechanism. They're easy to attach. Strain relief works well, including with large cable like Belton 8412. A unique feature is that pin 1 makes first. Pin 1's the shield. And then finally, the XLR series. The R in XLR means resilient. The socket contacts are set in rubber, which makes them more resistant to misaligned contacts in the other connector. They're less industrial looking. The screws tend to get loose and get lost. Loctite's your friend. The Switchcraft L3MN adapter converts the Amphenol 91 series connector into an XLR. It places the insert in the microphone body. It's not plug and play. You have to solder to install it. A problem with using them is that people try to loosen the locking ring when disconnecting. The solution is to use Loctite on the locking ring. There's 3 of these on eBay right now. They tend to be hard to get.
Hello, and we're back. All right, let's talk about ribbons. I pulled a few special ribbons out to take a look at. And the first one is the first production ribbon that was made. It's German, it's by Siemens, and it's an ELM25. This ribbon is directional, which was very unusual for being the first ribbon. And it also had a cartridge that you could replace. When you needed to replace your cartridge quickly, you could just take that one off and put on another one without a whole lot of problem. And you'll see these big old ribbons in some famous photographs. There's Stalin. And yeah, this was quite a big deal because it was a mic that did not need a charge to work. Here's kind of a opened up version of a ribbon. You can see that there's a thin piece of metal that's suspended. It's a corrugated piece of metal that's suspended within a big magnet, and the velocity of sound vibrates that little ribbon, and then the magnetic field then changes, and then you have a voltage that is read by the speaker on the other side, and that's how it works basically. But it's a very, very small signal that comes out of ribbon, so you have to really bring up the level when you use these ribbons. But how wonderful these are. And so this Siemens mic is from 1925. So it's very, very early. Right away, RCA started using ribbons for broadcasting just because they were dependable. They didn't need power. They were super high fidelity. And their first, actually, this is not their first. The first one is the PB17. And I actually have one in the other room, but I didn't bring it out for this. But soon after that was this beautiful thing, the 77. This is a 77A. It's really big and bulky. I believe that this is Harry Olsen's first design. And Harry Olsen, immediately after creating this, set about to refine this design. And here's one of his prototypes. And this is museum worthy right here, this thing. Wow. This is the prototype, and take a good close look at that. This is the prototype to the RCA 44 mic, ribbon mic. The iconic ribbon mic that was used all through the 30s, 40s. There's a picture of Harry Olsen, and here's what became of the 44 after designing and testing it. Here's a classic 44. This is a very, very popular, iconic microphone design. But this right here is the original, and it's in the museum. Amazing. We also have several other of Harry Olsen's prototypes, including the next generation of 77. After the 77A, Harry Olsen set about to make a much smaller microphone. So he designed this as a prototype for what would be the 77B and 77C and then D and DX. So, but this is, it's flat. Actually, here's what it wound up being. Here's a DX. This is a 77DX. So this is actually the production model as it looked finally. Much different than the flat prototype. But it's very interesting. There's another really great prototype that we have in the museum that I want to show you. This was another RCA ribbon, and it looks like it might be one of those pill-shaped 77s, but in fact, this mic was meant to be end address. And let me explain what end address is. So typically, like a microphone like this here, this is side address. So you talk into the side of it. And maybe we could have a zoom out so we could see like what a side address looks like. So you're talking into the side. So this is a side address. But with this mic, you talk into the end of it. And this is a very modern type of mic now. But at the time, a ribbon end address was a really new idea. And ultimately, this prototype became what is a very common RCA mic called the BK5. Isn't that something? Here's the prototype for the BK5. These were actually built by Harry Olsen, and they're in the museum. I think we should take a listen to one of these. You know, the prototypes are actually wired up and can be used. So I'm a little afraid to take them into any sessions just because the kind of music I record typically is a little bombastic. But for us right now, I think I could plug in this RCA prototype and we could take a listen to it and see what it sounds like. Okay, hang on a second. Let me put on my headphones and mute my lav. Hello. Oh, yeah. Hello there. Ooh, it's a little dark. Oh, but fantastic, right? A rich sounding microphone. And this is just the prototype. So he had it just right. It's one thing about ribbon mics that there's just a warmth and a furriness and that just wants, it's like wearing a nice sweater in the winter. But there you go. There's our prototype 44. All right. So that's all I've got for ribbons today. Boy, there's a whole bunch more. I could just go on and on and on, but we'll just leave it at that. And hopefully we'll be able to share some more in the future. But are there any questions about ribbons?
Well, there were a couple of comments, and Michael Peterson said that there was BBC had an enormous ribbon mic that would cause a nearby wristwatch to malfunction, which and we were looking for what the name of that.
BBC might have been a Marconi.
Oh, really?
Yeah. In fact, we have one of them in the collection. Well, we don't have the Marconi Type A, but we have the Type B. And where is that? Oh, I think it's in a box. It's in storage right now. But yes, big heavy magnets.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm looking for other questions here
And
that popped in.
Someone's asking about the AEG ribbons, and yes, fantastic. Wes Dooley really knows his stuff, and he's a master at making those ribbon mics and the recreations of the RCAs.
Awesome.
Okay.
I think that's it.
Okay. So our next group of mics are crystals, which will be very interesting. So I'll just mute my lav, and we'll see you in a few minutes.
That's
Thank you.
fantastic, Sylvia. Thanks.
All right.
And for the committee again, Hannah, I think somebody asked if she can leave the meeting and then come back in, and I don't know if that's kosher or not. So is there anybody on the committee who knows if that is a problem? Crickets.
Yeah, it should
Shouldn't be a problem.
Okay,
There's
so
no
it shouldn't
waiting
be a
room.
problem. If you need to jump out, we'll certainly do our best to get you back in. So now we have a presentation from Dan.
Bill, maybe
Hi,
a
everybody.
safer
I'm
thing
Dan
would be,
Mortensen.
Say that again.
maybe a safer thing would be for her just to leave and don't log out.
Okay, so one of those two things would be great.
There's
All right.
no waiting room, so people can come right in and out.
All right, thanks, Dan. So now Dan Mortensen.
Hi, everybody. I'm Dan Mortensen. I'm on the committee for the Pacific Northwest section and want to tell you about a section auxiliary meeting that we do every week at 4 p.m. on Saturdays, Seattle time, called Tea Time Topics. And I'm going to show you where to find it on the website and on the web, and you can decide if that's something that's interesting to you or not. So first of all, you go to www.aes.org/section/PNW, and you come up here, and you can click a link that's either here or here, and that will take you to this page. And if you scroll way down on that page, you find first the registration to attend, just like you did this one, which is an Eventbrite thing. You also see some history of meetings that we've done, and we're a little behind on it. Sorry about that. You can also see some videos if you go to my YouTube channel, Dan Sound Seattle, and here's the web link for that. It's really a lot of fun. We talk about all kinds of stuff. We open the doors a little early so we can chat, and hope to see you there. Thank you.
All right, and we're back. We're talking about crystals. Now, it was one thing to learn about carbon mics and a carbon pencil mic where you basically are yelling into a burnt stick and you get a signal. Well, the same, again, here's another technology that is just mind-blowing. It is crystal microphones, and indeed, they are made with crystals. Did you know that crystals emit a charge when they are bent? So the idea is to take a very, very thin slice of a piece of crystal. And I know, Michael Pedersen, you were asking about this. I did find it. This is from the Paquette collection. And it is a piece of Rochelle salt crystal. But quartz crystal also was a popular type of crystal. And you take a very thin slice of it and you attach it to a diaphragm. The diaphragm moves and bends that crystal, and the crystal emits a charge. And this is just mind-blowing to me. So I have to explain it a little bit differently here. I'm going to draw a simple picture. Here's our diaphragm. And here's the housing of the microphone, let's say, holding that diaphragm into place. And then there's the diaphragm is then connected with like a pin to a piece of crystal, a slice of crystal. This is your crystal slice, very thin, right? And now there's 2 electrodes that come off of there, the positive and the negative. And what happens is the diaphragm, sound comes to the diaphragm, and the diaphragm wiggles back and forth, moving that pin that moves this crystal like that. And as the crystal moves, then you get this charge. And it moves in a way that is translated into an audio signal. So, okay, mind blown, right? Well, the fun thing about crystal mics is that they were so creatively made. And the fellows, the family who really found out about this piezoelectric, that's what it's called, piezoelectric microphone, is the Brush family, the father and son, the Brushes, and they were experimenting in their house's basement on how to make these mics. And so early Brush mics are very interesting, and they're not typical shapes like other mics. For instance, this is a Brush mic. This is a BR2S sphere. It's omnidirectional, but there's a piece of crystal in there, that's vibrating, and it's listening to us right now. But that's an early Brush. And then the Astatic company took that technology and licensed it for their own line of microphones. And they made this microphone, which is one of the most popular microphones ever made. And it's just the simplest thing. It's a lollipop. It's like a chrome puck with a mesh on one side. And this is a crystal mic, licensed by Brush, but it's made by Astatic. And Astatic started making these in the 30s, and they made them all the way through I think into at least the 80s and even the 90s. They might still be making them. Astatic is now a different company called CAD, and they may actually still be making them. I know I have a later version of this. This was from the 60s, and this is a beautiful anniversary version of the D104 Astatic mic, and it's also a crystal. So there's also so many other beautiful shapes of these crystals. This is a Turner microphone, the 44X. X oftentimes would denote that the microphone is a crystal mic. And look at this. I know that Heil mics makes the fin, and I think that they actually, that the fin is a recreation of this microphone. And this incredible microphone is also an Astatic, a 600S, one of my favorites, just because it looks so space age, right? It looks like, a rocket ship, super chrome, and the bass on this is gorgeous too. So that that's a nice mic. And then here's a Turner. Then they made these little small ones too, with just a little bit of a crystal capsule in there. And we should take a listen to this. I have to say though, crystal microphones had an inherent problem in the way that they were built. The Rochelle salt, which a lot of them were made with this salt, would deteriorate over time if it got humidity. Well, there's some photos of what happens to these salt, these pieces of crystal, that they just deteriorate, stop working, or become very intermittent. If you drop them, they have a tendency to break, so you have to be very delicate with them. But this particular little Turner mic, I think this is an 80. This is an 80X, I think. Yeah. This one I tested and it works, and you just got to take a listen to it because it's a little bit different than these other mics. It has a different kind of sound. And hold on a second. Let me get this plugged in into my, oh, wait a second. That's not going to work. Baby, can you hand me that microphone there? Great, thank you. Let me make sure I got this going here. So many cables. I have to say that our studio is wired up with cordial cable, which I am so happy about. Cordial cable is one of the greatest cable makers. They're German-made cables. We're very lucky to have them. All right, where's my, aha, I found it. Hang on a second.
So Sylvia, while you get that connected there, Shelley, Herman, I think, mentioned the Western Electric 649 that was ribbon and dynamic.
Yes.
Did you didn't show that, did you?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I have another mic that is got the similar technology that's coming up, but the 649, yeah, is a very important classic mic.
Yeah, because I thought we had looked at that the other day. But,
yeah, yeah, I've got one right over. Where is it? It's right over there. I can grab it.
cool. And Michael
We'll take
Peterson.
a look at it.
Michael Peterson mentioned that Even Sure had to license the crystal mic from Brush. So.
Ah, yeah, right. I know which one we're talking about too. The model number escapes me, but I'll memorize it sometime. Okay, now I'm gonna put my headphones on and let me make sure that I'm muted here. Mute, 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 mute. Okay. Oh yeah, okay. Also very noisy. Oh, here we go. And you can hear this. This is the sound of the crystal mic, the 80X. And it's a very small pencil type of chrome mic end address. And it's not a very high fidelity microphone. These crystals were typically not used for professional recording just because you've got a narrow range. But there you go. That's what a crystal sounds like. All right. Well, that was fun. Okay, now we're getting into the real good stuff. I have a collection of my most favorite mics in the collection because of how they're designed and their beauty, you know, and then I'll share some sleepers with you. So we still have some more categories to come. If there's any questions.
No, just some comments. So go ahead and we'll keep yakking here while you do your magic. Greg,
right.
Thanks, Sylvia.
All right, we'll be talking about the most beautiful mics in the world in just a moment. So stick around.
I can't wait for those. Those are great. So Greg Dixon mentioned that notice that she had to plug the crystal mic into the Countryman DI, any DI, because it's just super high impedance. So that's, you know, the connector is just tip sleeve, not tip ring sleeve, not XLR, high impedance, unbalanced, all of that. And I think we have another video from Dan.
Actually, I think we're going to go to me with a live little plug for the AES.
Awesome.
I just wanted to talk a little bit about the AES and invite people to join if they haven't. So a little bit about the AES. The AES, of course, is the Audio Engineering Society. And the Audio Engineering Society is an international organization focused on all things audio engineering, including recording, production, live sound, DSP, or digital signal processing, and audio programming, and much, much more. The AES also uses scientific research to help create standards for audio technology that's used by audio engineers all over the world. It's a great community, and in particular, the Pacific Northwest AES has been a continuous source of joy for me. And I'd like to thank Lawrence for helping me get connected with these folks. In addition, I'd like to say that as an AES member, you have access to the AES Journal, which provides all kinds of great information. It's a wonderful space for learning and networking like what we're doing today. And just this summer, I had the opportunity to attend the 2020 Audio Education Conference for free. As an audio educator, this was particularly awesome. And also attended the AVAR 2020 conference as well. So that's helped to make my summer more exciting, and I've really enjoyed that. In addition, I'd like you to consider joining the AES if you are interested and you want to get more involved. Or maybe you haven't renewed your membership in a while, consider renewing your membership. And in addition, just one more note, if you happen to like what we're doing here and you want to help make a donation to the AES, you can do so by going online to aes.org/support. And this will help the AES keep doing what it does. Again, that link is aes.org/support. If you've got some money burning a hole in your pocket, please consider helping out the AES. Thanks.
Thanks, Greg. It's awesome. Looks like Sylvia's getting ready again. Somebody, Ira, asked if he or she missed the carbon presentation, and yes, you did. It's all gone, but it's recorded, which was another question. So you can pick it up later. So Sylvia, are you ready to go?
I'm ready to go. Can you hear me?
Yes. Awesome.
All right. Well, now I've gathered together a collection of some of my favorite designs of mics, because the container that the microphone is in seems to be an art form that has gone through stages. And one of my favorite mics here is this Bruno. This is a Bruno ORLI. It's a tabletop mic. It's nothing particularly special. It is a ribbon though. And when it sits on the table, you can actually adjust it so that it moves at an angle that is best for your speech. So I think this was maybe for conference calls or something like that. Anyway, I just love the lines of it though. I'd never seen anything quite like it. This is by a company, American company called Bruno. I'll put that aside. Now here is a microphone by the American Microphone Company out of Pasadena, California. And they had a whole line of very interesting, a lot of dynamics, but this one is their ribbon, and they made a few ribbons, but this one was particularly interesting because it is a hybrid ribbon. It's a ribbon/dynamic microphone, much like the 639 that we were talking about. In fact, I went and grabbed the Western Electric 639 since we were talking about it. Here it is, like the bird cage, right? The traditional nickname of bird cage for this type of mic. This also is a hybrid mic, much like several other makers made these hybrid mics during the same era. But this from the 50s was American's DR332. And I just love the colors on it. It has a gold tone metal grill and Bakelite body, Bakelite brown. And it's just a beautiful piece of art. Some other ones that I really especially love this one, here's a ball and biscuit. Now, we already talked about the dynamic mic, the ball and biscuit, but this particular one has this amazing stand. And sometimes the stands are as beautiful as the microphones themselves. So this one is particularly high on my list just because of the color combination and the fact that the ball and biscuit has this ring on the top of it. It's just gorgeous. I just had to share that with you. This is a radio station, WTMJ. It stands for the Milwaukee Journal, or around here in our house, it's way too much Johnson. But anyway, this is one of our favorites. And then I wanted to share with you these canister mics. And you have to step back in time a little bit to understand what was happening here. But when radio was young, the amateur radio operators would build their own equipment. So there were all types of condenser mics. You could just order parts out of catalogs and make your own. You could actually purchase one of those Western Electric 394 condenser capsules and install it into your own mic. In fact, I think that is a 394 in this one. But most of these canisters are no names. There's no make on them because they were basically homemade. This beautiful chrome one in particular has the call letters to that ham operator's station on the back. And Rick Chin, I think he looked up this broadcaster and told me the whole story about him. It's from Wisconsin, and I'm so amazed. This broadcaster was on the air probably for 50 or 60 years. So these people are passionate about these mics that they built. And so we have a bunch of them in the collection, and you may find them. They may not be appreciated as well as other mics because they're not branded, but in fact, there's so much history. And in the 30s, everyone was building their own microphones and trying new things, and you could build these kits and make these beautiful microphones like this. I think I have another special one over here. I just have to drag it over and show you because it's so nice. Here it is. Look at this thing. Can you get a close-up of this one? Look at this. It's brass. It has this massively large capsule with an adjustable yoke and a beautiful red jewel. I just think it's amazing. Look at the craftsmanship on this. And someday I'll open them up and I'll get them all going. We'll see what they sound like too. But in the meantime, they are just appreciated for the way that they look and the ingenuity and the craftsmanship that the individuals made in making these beautiful old mics. So that's all I got for our beauties. But up next, I'll be sharing the sleepers, which is really what you want to stay tuned for.
Awesome. Hey, we have a couple questions here, and one of them is about to slip away from me. How does the hybrid mic work with the dual element with only one cable out?
Oh, yeah. Let me show you. There's an adjustment on the back, so you can adjust how much of one element or the other is in the blend. And you get different effects out of that too, is depending on where the setting is, you'll have more directionality out of the front. But it's through the chambers inside it and moving of these chambers, plus the combination of the elements. From what I know, that's how it was done with this little adjustment there.
That's cool.
And on the American mic, it was a little more complex. You had to actually take this badge off, and there's a combination of posts that you wire together in a certain way to get different effects or different combinations.
That's really cool. Somebody asked if you could demonstrate either one of those. Do you know if they work?
You know, I haven't tested them, so I won't do that now but they seem to be wired up. But I'm gonna be cool and not do it today.
They'll work eventually, I'm sure.
Yeah, hopefully we can do this again and you can tune in, because I'll have a whole other bunch of mics to test and more to show the next time too.
You've got about 20 times this amount of mics, right?
Oh God, yeah, there's over 2,000 mics. So
Amazing. So somebody asked about the cable that you mentioned, and I think it's pronounced cordial. Is that what it is? But it's
cordial, yeah, cordial, Cordial.
Yeah.
Cordial Cable USA is the connection here in the United States, but it's a German company. I have actually been to their factory, and freaking great cable, really beautiful.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, let's transition to the next and final.
Okay.
And
All right.
now, thanks, Sylvia.
See you in a minute.
Very good. And now another word from Dan.
Hi, this is Dan Mortensen again to talk about the upcoming Audio Engineering Society convention, which would otherwise be in New York City at the Javits Center, but it's going to be online completely. This is what you see when you go to the AES.org webpage, and these first two slides are the front thing. If you click on that Learn More, you come to this page, which shows you how much time is left till the convention. Scrolling down on that same page, you see some stuff that describes it further, and then scrolling down some more, you come to the schedule, and here are some highlights. And my part of it is in the 4th week, so I don't know too much about these first 3 weeks, so we're going to skip generally through them. I'm going to be the co-chair of the historical and sound reinforcement tracks, and that's part of the technical program, and these will all be online presentations by people in all kinds of interest areas like there's some prices which are about a quarter of what it would be otherwise. There's about 15,000 people who normally show up, and we'll see what happens this time.
Cool. Thanks, Dan. So apparently there are no exhibits only passes this year. Just a joke. So here's one point that Andrea brought up, Sylvia, if you're getting in back in gear. No, it wasn't Andrea. Oh, shoot, I lost it. It was Ken G from New York. Has Sylvia thought about working with a textile historian to save/restore the internal fabrics under the mic grills and cages?
I love this idea. I would really like to recreate and with the same kind of style sensibility, make a new line of microphones using carbon elements or ribbon. You know, just some unusual designs. You know, just more about the design and less about the let's say the quality. I hate to say that, but more like flavor mics, you know. But I am into the fabric, those fabrics in particular. These the fabric that's used in these 55 mics. Here, just to talk about it a little bit. I believe that this mic originally had bright red fabric. Because these mics, the 55 and the 55S, typically had very bright fabric behind the grill, but it would fade over time. And I think probably Michael Pedersen could talk more about that. But yeah, could you imagine brightening that up again and making it like new? Yeah, someone says they have a 51 with bright red fabric. They were really colorful mics, beautifully designed.
Do you have any hydrophone mics in your collection?
Hydrophone. We have a submarine. We do have a submarine mic, but you know what's even better than that is this thing over here. I wish I could show it to you. The tank sensor. It's a military mic. This thing is crazy, and we're kind of going off into left field, but why not? Look at this thing. Oh boy, wasn't planning on bringing this one out, but oh God, this is a microphone. This is a microphone. Bob Paquette was so proud of this. And what it is, it's a military microphone that senses the low frequencies of an oncoming tank. So you'd set it on the ground and the vibrations, the sound, the low frequencies would rumble up into this thing. And let's see if I can even open it up. So yeah, you can see it's full of tubes. Oh, let me get it so that you can see it a little better. Here we go. Sorry. It's very large and unwieldy. Let me get it in a better position so you can see the guts on this thing. Look at that. Look at that thing. So yeah, this would sense the vibrations of oncoming tanks. That's what I understand about it at this point. I have to do some more research to really find out more about it. But this was a field microphone in the military, in the Army, and Bob was so proud of this. He was so excited. He showed it to me when I was there. Okay, let me put this back correctly. There we go.
That's something you don't get a chance to see very often.
Military microphones, you know. All right. Oh, there's so many more too. Oh God, I wish I could show you the spy microphones that we have. We have so many spy microphones. Can you grab this? It's not connected. There. Okay, good. All right. Okay. That was fun. Would you like to hear about the sleepers?
Absolutely.
Okay. So I have a collection of microphones that I brought out because I think that they're worthy of a lot more attention than they actually get. These are mics that you might find for fairly good prices. However, a few are being discovered and are harder to find. But for instance, let me start with something relatively simple here. This mic I got in Berlin for $50. And if I can find that DI, I'll plug it in and have you listen to it because it is just a great mic. Here we are. There it is. And this is our DI. All right. I'm using a Countryman DI. I think that they're just so trustworthy. So yeah, this is an MD21 Sennheiser. And you'll recognize that this looks a whole lot like its younger brother, the MD421, which is a Sennheiser. The thing is the 21 is older. It's got a metal case. It's got a fixed clip. Now you can't adjust the clip, which is actually kind of okay because if anyone has used this 421, you know that the clip just falls off all the time and it's kind of a pain in the ass. So here the 21, the MD21 is fixed and it's sturdy and it sounds great. Here, take a listen to this and let me just turn off my lav. All right, listen to that. It's a dynamic mic and it has full frequency range, nice low end. I think that you could use this on a bass guitar, on a male voice. I think this would be great. It's good for a radio voice, you know. This is a fantastic mic. And like I said, I got this one for $50 in Berlin. If you find them, pick them up. These are great. MD21 Sennheiser. All right. I'm giving away my secrets now. There's another group of German mics that are relatively unknown, but have a very important history. And it was in the Second World War that the Neumann factory was bombed in Berlin, and the factory was basically destroyed. And the factory workers and George Neumann collected what they could, and they moved the operation to a little town called Gefell in eastern Germany. And they set up shop there, and at first they didn't have materials because the war was still on, but they were manufacturing with what they had. So they would use parts from old, downed aircraft, war aircraft, and then they would salvage parts off of that and then make them into microphones. So Neumann was making mics in the late 40s and in the early 50s out of this factory in Gefell. But as soon as the Soviets took over East Germany, they took over the factory and basically said, okay, now you're a government factory and you're going to be making things that we need, which would be like laser systems and such. So they still were making microphones, but George Neumann, I think, kind of lost interest in staying in Gefell. He went back to Berlin and started the new Neumann factory in Berlin, the rebirth of Neumann. In Berlin, that's where they started making the M49 microphones and the U47s. Now, they were still using technology that they started with in Gefell. The M7 mics are, this is a M7 capsule from Gefell. It has the Neumann name on it. And this type of capsule was used in the first U47 microphones that were made in Berlin. So they were sharing parts between the two companies. But later, when George died, after he passed, there was a battle between the Gefell company and the Berlin company for the name Neumann. And ultimately, the Berlin company won. So if you can find these Neumann Gefells, you've got a treasure. Some of the materials are less than optimal, but the craftsmanship is as good as it could be. And it's definitely Neumann. This particular Gefell mic is the UM57, and I treasure it. I have a pair of them. They're tube mics, and they're high quality tube condensers. This has the Microtech Gefell tag on it, and Microtech Gefell is the company that you look for now, and they are still making these types of mics. They also made another type of mic called the CMV563, which uses these lollipop type capsules. There's a figure 8 and there's a Omni, but this is the M7, which is the cardioid style. Anyway, you can buy these tube microphones for less than you would have to pay for an original Neumann, vintage Neumann from that era. So be on the lookout for the Gefell mics. This is a secret weapon. And here's a couple other things. Here's another German-made mic. Now you may know it as the AKG D12, but in fact, AKG made D12 microphones that were badged by other makers. So this one is a Krundal, and there was also the same mic with the Ecolet badge. So if you're looking for the high quality AKG D12 and you can't spend the money on an original, look for the Ecolet or the Krundal versions of these mics. And it was a common thing then that a big microphone maker would would license out their designs to other companies so that they could be marketed through, let's say, Ecolette made little tape delays. So tape recorders and tape delays, so that the mics would appear with their products with their name on it. But it's a secret that you can find these mics for less money than you think, and they're actually D12 mics, AKGs. The D12 was used as the kick drum mic on all the Beatles records, or you know, the important Beatles records. They're all important, I guess. Anyway, there's another secret for you, the Crundall and the Ecolette D12s. Another one, now we're moving into more modern mics. This is a mic from the 80s, and this is by CAD. Now, CAD stands for Conneaut Audio Devices, and that was what became of Astatic, the Astatic company. And this Equitech E100 is a large diaphragm condenser mic, and it's a darn good mic, and you can get them for, you know, if you find it, you can get this for a really good price. It's a high quality condenser microphone, FET style microphone. It doesn't need tubes. There's a few more here that I have to share with you I'm really happy about. This is Electro Voice 666, the EV666. Ha. Now, we were talking about this yesterday. The connector on this mic is not an XLR. This is a UA. What is it called? It's a UA. Anyway, it's not an XLR. So if you get one of these, be sure and get the connector with it so that you can actually use it, because it's an unusual connector. But this beautiful mic, this was used for vocals on so many big records. Al Schmidt told me a story about using this EV666 on his George Benson records as the lead vocal mic. So let's just plug it in and take a listen to this, because it's really quite nice. Hold on a second.
While you get that connected, Sylvia, we do have some questions coming in. I know that Al's story on that microphone is that they were going to record Masquerade, and George, he didn't know they were doing vocals at the same time, so he just grabbed any microphone, knowing for sure that they'd go to the Capitol Studios U47 and do a real take. But George nailed it on that microphone, and they from then on, he wanted that microphone on everything.
He always would ask for this microphone. That's right. That's the story I heard too. And Al would know.
Yes.
All right. So I'm going to turn off my lav and we'll listen to this. Hello, the EV666. Oh, it's silky and rich sounding. Yeah, you could imagine some vocals on this mic. Yeah, high quality American made mic. If you can find one, pick it up and add it to your collection, because this is some good stuff. It's a dynamic. All right. And there's John F. Kennedy using the EV666 in one of his addresses. I have a couple more mics to share with you here that are really pretty awesome. Altec made a tube condenser mic that rivals the Neumann KM line. I think these are great mics. It has a AU6A tube inside of it. It has interchangeable capsules for different polar patterns, and they call it the Coke bottle microphone, but it just comes off of this base here. This is the actual microphone here. Also with an unusual connector. Look at that. Make sure you get your connectors. It comes with a power supply. You want to have the separate power supply to use this, but these are great mics. Wow. super high-end recording mics, American made. And let's take a look at this one right here. This one's special. It's a recent addition from my friend Mike at Russian Recording in Bloomington, Indiana. This is an Octava ML16. And I mean, it's pistachio. I nickname it pistachio because it's just the craziest, most wonderful green color. And it has a wonderful sound too. And let me find this connector here so we can listen to it, because it's really quite nice. All right, I'm gonna mute my lab. Oh boy, it's got a little hum too, doesn't it? They all are a little hummy. Oh, but wow, how sensitive is this? This is a beautiful, robust sounding warm mic, little mid-range. But yeah, this is from Russia, ML16 Octava. Ah, I love that thing.
It's a great
All
sound.
right. Now, I have one more mic to show you, and that is probably my favorite mic. Andrew Sheps told me about this. He says his favorite mic is the KU3A RCA. And I was like, well, what is that? You know, and then it turns out that the Paquette collection has a pair of them. And now I don't go to any session without it. This is the most amazing vocal mic. And I'll just give you a little sample of this one. Here we go. Yeah, and see how quiet it is. It's just so sweet and beautiful. And oh, take a listen to that. Oh, that's a nice mic. And it has this white stripe on the back. These types of mics would be hung usually upside down on big boom stands during film shoots. And it was oftentimes hard to see which was the front and which was the back. So you'll see these with a white stripe. They call it the skunk stripe on the back. And so yeah, this one is this is a KU3A RCA from the 50s. And I think it's my favorite mic in the whole collection. Anyway, any questions? I think that's it. I think that's all I got for you tonight.
That's fantastic, Sylvia. All of it is. There are a couple of questions, and I'm trying to keep track of them. For those of you that are not watching the chat, go back in and watch it, because there are a couple things in there that are awesome. You kind of answered this a little bit, but somebody just again wanted to know, as a record producer, how do you see yourself using all of these mics in production?
You know, the funny thing is that when I am typically recording, I don't automatically go for the unusual microphone. I want to go with the sure things. Sure, okay. The 57s, the 58s, the Sennheiser 421, the AKG 414. I love Mojave. I love Royer. So I'll go with these mics that I know what I'm going to get out of, what I'm going to get out of them. And then I'll add some of these unusual colors as room mics or extra vocal mics for different sections and songs. It is a real thing that if you put a mic like this up in front of a singer, they're going to sing that song differently than if you give them a handheld or another modern mic. So give them something old, and they can hear that kind of sound in their headphones as they're singing, and they will give you a different performance. It may be that they give it a little extra something outside of their head, you know, and it's always a challenge to get the singer to get out of their head. So introducing these old vintage mics for that is fun. Also, you know, just for videos, and you know, we just want to have some unusual things sitting around so we can just try them out for whatever reason. experimentation is my middle name, Sylvia Experimentation Massy. So I want to have as many of these oddball mics in my collection as possible, and I'll try. Eventually I'll try all of them. But that's how I would think. That's how I go about the production. And there are so many modern mics that I love too, that I can't skip talking about the blue mics or the warm audio mics, or Soyuz is another maker that's fantastic. MXL actually makes really good condenser mics. There's so many good new makers, and I'm probably forgetting a lot of them, but whether it's vintage or modern, know your mics.
Fabulous. We also had, this is just a clarification for somebody who was wondering about this. They were wondering, you were calling the capsule the mic, and they were wondering what's the difference between the capsule and the preamp and the body. And I probably just should address that.
This is the capsule. This is the part that has the diaphragm and creates the signal. This then is transferred into an amplifier. So a capsule is just basically the head of the mic, as far as I'm concerned, and then you'll have your amplifier in the body. So that's the way I look at it anyway.
Cool. That clarifies it.
Okay.
Michael Peterson made the comment that Bob Paquette would be pleased with his collection being passed on to you.
Oh,
And
and that's where it all comes down to it. And I'm glad you mentioned that, Michael, because I have to just, there's a lot of people I need to thank, but Bob Paquette, thank you very, very much. And we admire your work, and we want to keep it intact as much as possible.
Great. Do you guys have a website for the collection at all? Is there a special website for this?
Well, you can visit www.sylviamassy.com, and that's spelled SYLVIAMASSY. I am setting up a database for the microphones from the collection. So eventually there will be a big a resource for people to browse. But the book is really going to be the great book, the great vintage microphone book. And we're working on it now, and we're adding a lot of new mics into it. And Dan Alexander, dang it, we're going to get it done. It can be done.
If anybody can do it, you can do it. And I know how diligent you and Chris are when you put these things together.
Hey, I want to, before we go, I want to say a big thank you to some friends out there that are gear manufacturers that I really appreciate their help and sponsorship, from Genelec, from Loop Trotter, from Coleman Audio, and Dangerous Music. And these things I use every day. Arno at Castle Rohrsdorf, he's a gentleman, my heart. I love you so much. And he's my my dealer for getting East German mics. In case anyone knows Arno, that's where I get them. Thank you, Arno. And George Kulius, he is the one that turned me onto that WEM console over there, that big old beast. It's well, you can't even see it in this, but anyway, there's a great big old crazy 70s console over there. But again, Bob Paquette really has changed Chris and my's life. It's an incredible journey that we're on, and we're just getting started.
That's fantastic. Michael also just mentioned that Bob Paquette was buried with one microphone in his casket, the Model 55. He shorted you one.
Oh, is that right? That's incredible.
That is.
I wouldn't doubt it.
So anyway, I mean, pretty much that's it. It's just been fabulous. We have now an activity before anybody leaves, where we're going to do a little breaking up into groups. And so I believe that Greg is going to explain that. Is that how that's going to work?
Yeah.
Awesome. You're on.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Sylvia. That was incredible, and so inspiring. So I'd like
Thanks.
to thank Sylvia, and I'd also like to extend a special thanks to her technical assistant, Chris, for all the hard work there as well. In addition, I'd like to extend some thanks to Bill Gibson, who helped organize this meeting, incredible meeting, and also was our amazing moderator. So thank you so much, Bill. We really appreciate it.
No problem.
Again, I'd like to thank my committee on the Pacific Northwest AES section for all their hard work. I'd like to thank all the attendees who came today. Thank you for joining us. At this time, we're going to try something new that we've never done before. The Pacific Northwest AES section has always prided itself on helping people network and get to know one another. When we were meeting in person, we would always do introductions of all of our guests. And to that end, we've decided that we want to, with a large meeting like this, give people the opportunity to be able to socialize. So if you want to stick around, what we're going to do is put everybody into what are called breakout rooms on Zoom. And these are going to be randomly distributed. But the idea is that we're going to have a 15-minute session. And you'll go into a breakout room if you want, and you'll be able to talk with some of the people that are here. Now, one thing that I'd ask for you to consider doing before we go into the breakout rooms, and be a really good idea, is to change your name if you are comfortable. We'd really like people to know who you are. And if you're on a Mac, you can just simply click on your name in your little Zoom window down at the bottom left-hand corner. If you're on a Mac, you can just simply click on it and choose rename to put in your real name if possible. If you're on a PC like myself, I had to right-click it and I could change my name there. So again, thank you so much. This has been a real pleasure for me and an honor to be able to do this. So thanks. And so you'll get sort of transported into a breakout room any moment.
And Greg, is it possible that maybe Sylvia could jump around breakout rooms if she wants to? Is she going to be in a
Absolutely.
breakout room? Should she just be the party animal that just rocks all the breakout rooms?
Yeah.
All the moderators will jump around and make sure everyone's okay. So
Yeah, the moderators
Yeah,
are going
you
to
can
jump
jump.
around. And if for some reason your video got muted, a moderator will come around and try and help you unmute your video. So
Yeah,
thanks.
people can turn your cameras on now if you want to.
Awesome. Okay.
we have 205 participants, 204. So people are flying out, but we're going to have some fun now.
This
you
is
ready?
still bigger than any meeting we've ever had.
We had over 300 and what? 350?
389 was
389.
397 was the highest.
All right.
You guys, awesome, man. Awesome.
It's a good meeting, man.
Wow.
Yeah, really wonderful.
Okay, are you about ready?
Ready?
Yeah, we're ready to go.
Five,
Okay.
4, 3, 2,
Ah!
1.
And 8, 7, 6,
Oh, it's going away.
5,
Anyway, I
4,
love these
3,
speakers.
2,
Thanks, guys.
1.
You're mean,
Yeah,
Gary.
cheers.
We're gonna close them all and do another round if people are still up for it.
Great idea.
So people should start flooding in here. But
Do we
it
only
takes,
have like 12 participants? No, is that just in this room?
I think that's just in this room, which is actually the main room, the main meeting.
Oh, everybody's coming back.
Yep. Let's hope they don't all talk at once.
So my breakout room had 13 people listed, but only 2 people were actually paying attention and participating. I think a number
There's
of-
always someone who dominates the conversation, huh?
No, I think a lot of people left things running and walked away or something.
Yeah, that could be. And
There was 2 people in our room who were, one was like that, one was just shy and typed out some stuff, which was nice. She was in Brazil.
I still think great idea to do this. Whoever came up with it is like, how do you?
And
how
I'm
do
friends
you-
with Tim. If you could reach out to me, send me a friend request.
What? All of us?
Maybe the breakout room ended a little prematurely.
That was so fun. Oh
That
my
was amazing.
gosh. That was totally fun.
I was just saying how cool, what a great idea this is.
We do them all
That
the
was
time.
fun. Thank you.
So it looks like I see 116 people left here.
Yeah.
We could do another round of breakout rooms if you want.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, let's do
Okay.
one more round.
How many?
Throw 'em
like-
again. Throw the
like,
dice again.
Hey, is there?
maybe 10
Yeah,
rooms?
10 is good.
10
Is
rooms.
this-
And it's good.
This is Mike Goodrow.
Steve.
Hey, there's Steve.
Oh, what a trip. What a trip.
Is there any way to unmute my video?
I can.
Yeah, where are you?
Mike can't figure out to
Mike Goodrow.
unmute.
Hi.
Okay, gotcha.
Click
Good.
the-
I'll do it. I'll do
The
it.
camera thing.
There you go. I got you.
Thank you.
This is like
I
after
moved from-
beers.
Oh yeah, it really worked.
Yay.
Okay. Anybody else
I
in that
didn't realize
problem?
I moved from one group to another.
I guess we're a different group now.
Yeah,
No,
Gary's,
A different group now.
This is
Gary's
a
going to do it.
Group.
Yeah.
We haven't broken out yet.
Are you ready for new rooms? There's about a
Ready.
dozen
We're
people
ready.
per room.
Ready,
Let's
ready,
do
ready,
it.
ready.
Kind of like
Yeah, come back. Hello.
Hello, everyone. You'll have to manually unmute yourself if you want to talk.
Hi.
Hello.
How many people? This happens kind of slowly. People have to leave their breakout room, and
Yeah.
it's not like instantaneous.
Still some sort of party here.
And if we want to speak, we unmute.
And just wondering how many people we have left here.
20 something so far.
How many time zones do we have here?
Probably a lot of them.
Pacific.
Yeah.
Eastern here.
Pacific USA.
Eastern here.
Yeah.
Sylvia still here.
Oh, here comes people. Everyone's picture's getting really tiny.
Okay.
oh my gosh, that is so fun. We had so much fun. Oh, Sylvia, Chris was there, and then Sylvia was there.
It's like Wizard of
That
Oz.
was awesome. We got to
Oh.
do these again.
And Steve, oh my God.
And we can do it in VR next time because Lawrence has done that AVR thing.
Yeah, so next time, everybody, you have to make a free account on AltSpace VR, and then we're gonna have this meeting. We'll start in Zoom, but then we're gonna go into VR. But you don't even need VR. You can do it on a PC. You can do it on a flat screen, but you do need a friggin' Windows PC. It won't work on a Mac. So I'm sorry I didn't.
David Angers is there.
So my iPhone won't work.
Watch.
So a bunch of audio people, Lawrence.
No phones.
I know. I hate it too. I hate it too. It's not my idea, but
Right,
that's
the
where we are,
Oculus
people.
Quest is inexpensive, and it's just like having a cell phone or a computer, and now you have a VR headset. It's untethered, and it is really the way that everything is going, and Lawrence proved it last week.
And Dan Mortensen joined on with and bought a Quest. There he is. Look, Dan, he went out and got a friggin' Quest, the Oculus Quest, just so he could participate in this thing, and it changed his life. Come on, Dan, it changed your life. You know it's true. You can't.
Things are going to be different now, I'm telling you.
I didn't pay him to say that, but it's true. It's true. I'm
I
telling people.
tried, but I don't have a PC, so I have I paid and I have to see into the only.
So you have two choices. You can either do it on a Windows PC, or you can do it with a mobile VR thing like the Oculus.
Windows machine. I haven't used a Windows machine for a decade.
Well, then we don't get to see you in VR on Wednesday, September 23rd. But anybody who can, please do, because wait a minute. I've got it for you. What you can watch us on a YouTube live stream. So we're going to live stream it, right, Greg? We're going to live stream it live. So even if you don't do it,
we're gonna.
Go ahead, Greg.
You won't be able to interact, unfortunately.
Well, we could keep the chat. We could open the YouTube live stream chat, Greg, and we could have somebody monitor the chat. So that way,
Is this going to be
I did
AES
this.
meeting?
Can you send
integrate
Zoom?
So if you want more information, just go to the PNW section webpage. I'll put it in the chat again. I've put it in a couple times.
Yeah,
now.
We actually
I use
might
my
end up
Raspberry
streaming
Pi?
it directly to Zoom.
Oh, we might,
Thank you,
yeah,
Sylvia.
we might stream.
Thank you, Sylvia, for a great
Sylvia,
talk.
oh my
Hey,
gosh,
all right.
Sylvia. Oh, I'm so
Hey,
sorry.
Sylvia,
That was
take
awesome.
off now. I'm
That
going
was
to take
amazing.
off now. What a wonderful meeting, and I'm so glad I got invited to do this. And thank you so much. And nice to see you, and nice to meet you. And we'll check you later. All
You're
right.
awesome, Sylvia.
Sylvia was awesome.
See you. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Oh my God,
Thank
she's
you.
so good.
Thank you.